No further questions, Your Honor. All right, you're ready.
I'm going to sort of start at the end there. Just because someone texts something, does that mean they're telling the truth?
No.
And isn't it often that someone will text someone something and it is an outright lie?
I imagine that happens.
Would that be more or less likely if someone is planning a murder, that they would be less than truthful?
Most people that I've dealt with in my career are not necessarily truthful when they're involved in criminal activity.
Look at they're like, ooh,
And let me also just flesh out the rest of this incident where Mr. Dontell allegedly tried to have his co-defendant killed. First of all, let's give the whole story. The allegation was also that he was going to try and have me killed, correct?
Correct.
Did you and other investigators try to substantiate that allegation?
Yes, we did.
Were you able to?
No.
Meaning that there was no evidence that that actually happened?
Correct.
There's been quite a bit of questions.
Poor TV, don't mess up now.
From his apartment.
Oh no, not Randall and Green.
The hit on the LPR. The sectors are simply meant to show that the cell phone or the device is hitting off that same tower, correct?
Yes, there's 3 sectors on each tower. They point in 120-degree arcs in different directions. And those... What was the last part of your question? I apologize.
That's okay. Let me ask it this way. Is it possible for someone to be walking but their device still connecting to the same tower?
Yes, if it's the strongest signal. If it's the strongest signal that the phone sees, it would still continue to connect to that tower.
When would it switch? When it found a stronger signal?
Correct.
The data that you had, that you analyzed for that particular point in time, was that simply tower information, meaning a device hitting off of a tower, or did you have Greg Rice's geolocation data?
I had no geolocation data for Greg Rice. I only had cell site location information.
Is geolocation data the one that is more accurate as to placing a device in a particular spot?
Yes, stereotypically it is much more accurate than cell site location information.
And I had to say this several times, but when was your task with the cell phone analysis to determine device location or to determine content of communications?
So my task was to analyze geolocation information from cell phone records provided by the providers and if that information was present on an actual device. Context was never a part of my task for this particular investigation.
Would the content of either a phone call or a text message change where the phone is located?
No, not at the time of connection.
There were also quite a few questions about Christopher Dontell not telling the truth in interviews. Based on your review of or your participation in the investigation, did Ms. Jackson always tell the truth in those interviews?
No.
Is it fairly normal? Well, I'll ask it this way. How many criminal investigations have you been involved in your career? I know, you'll probably have to estimate, but...
18 years career, thousands. I would say over 10,000 cases.
When you speak with suspects, how often, if you can estimate, do they tell the truth right out the gate?
Very rarely.
Are you familiar with the term progressive truth-telling?
I've heard it before, yes.
What does that mean?
It's essentially a person will give a portion of the truth as they tell a story, and then as they're presented with facts or evidence that could dispel portions of it, they'll tell more and more of that story that has more and more of the truth in it.
Court's indulgence. So one of the things that might be used to, I guess, sort of confront someone. Things like license plate readers, geolocation data, cell site location information.
Yes, during an interview, yes, we would use that information to help corroborate their statement or dispel it.
So if, for example, Meagan Jackson said that she never went to Arrowhead Community the night of October 2nd, the LPR data could be used to contradict that, correct?
Correct, as well as the cell site location information.
I may have asked you this yesterday. We've established that, would it be possible for Greg Rice to have walked from his apartment, started towards the Clay Pond Drive exit, and used the same tower for a good bit of that time?
Yes.
When you looked at the two LPR hits that indicated that the van was in the Arrowhead community for about 6 or 7 minutes, did you go out and see whether it would be how reasonable it was that the van could go in and out that quickly?
I did go out and test that. I drove that myself, and you can drive from the LPR, which is at the entrance of Arrowhead, down to the Flint Lake Apartments, to his apartment, and turn around and drive back with some time to spare within that roughly 5.5 minute time frame.
Would that time, the sort of extra time, expand if Greg Rice had left his apartment and was walking down the road?
Yes.
There were also some questions about the date on your presentation. Meagan Jackson was actually listed for trial in December, correct?
I believe so, yes.
So was your presentation prepared for the December trial of Meagan Jackson?
Correct.
Did you in fact have a slightly different presentation for Christopher Dontell?
I did.
Court's indulgence. There was also this question about Blow Up Betty. I'm not sure I understood what Mr. Britton was inferring, but it seemed that he was inferring that maybe that was some sort of, it was going to be used as a sex toy. Could Blow Up Betty
Evidence.
also be used for target practice?
I imagine you could, yes.
Court's indulgence for 1 moment.
Water. This guy. Ugh. Okay, their ticker's still running, so it's Court TV freezing up. We should have done a blow up Betty counter. Thank you so much, Curious Coco. It's good to have you here. This is getting good. This is getting good. We're building up on the Christopher Dontell story. Curious Coco NY says, great to be back in the cat chat, watching the Timu Lincoln Lawyer and Timu Love and so many familiar folks. Yeah, I think you mean in the chat familiar. Yeah, we've got Lincoln Lawyer vibes. We have Timu Love, who seems a bit calmer today. Maybe the water sounds are calming her down, like naturescapes. She's got a reserved energy today. Thank you so much for the super here. And oh, Dolly says I need to alert you when when a trial gets degenerate from now. This one's had moments, but I think the first mention of blow up Betty was today. I didn't know. I didn't know. So, let's go chat. Let's see.
The presentation that you created and that we showed the jury, that was created prior to the December trial date, is that correct?
Yes.
When did you learn from Christopher Dontell that the murder had occurred in the Arrowhead community?
After I created my presentation.
Did you make any changes on your presentation based on that information?
No.
And again, are you using, so I'm not leading, are you using any of this geolocation data, cell site location information, any of that, to say when specifically Greg Rice was alive or dead?
No.
Does the information, the cell phone information, seem to corroborate that Greg Rice was killed at some point in Horry County that night because his device stops connecting to a tower?
Yes, it does. It is abnormal. When we look at records, we'll typically look at a very long period of time of records if they're available. I looked, I believe, if I recall correctly, at least 3 months of his records, and there were constant connections to the tower on every day for 3 months, and then they suddenly stopped on October 2nd, 2020.
And based on your presentation and the data that you did analyze, of the 3 people, so Greg Rice, Meagan Jackson, and Christopher Dontell, were any combination of them together the entire night?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase your
Yeah,
question?
that probably wasn't very well worded. I think your presentation started with the River's Edge LPR around 6:20 in the evening, ended the next day at like 12:15 in the morning.
Okay.
During that span of time, did your location data support that Christopher Dontell and Meagan Jackson were together that entire time?
Yes, it did corroborate information the investigation learned that they were together during that time.
Nothing further, Your Honor.